Hey everyone, it's Alexander, the real Mr. Robinson. Welcome to the channel. So this is my review for the highly anticipated, long-awaited Snyder Cut to Justice League, also known as Zack Snyder's Justice League. I apologize in advance if it looks like I'm exhausted. That's because I'm only running on 4 hours of sleep. I tried to get some sleep last night with the goal of waking up as early as possible to watch the Snyder Cut. I ended up just suddenly waking up at 2 o'clock in the morning and thought, well, I'm awake. Might as well just watch the Snyder Cut and then I'll just start my day once I finish the movie. So yeah, I've seen it. I sat through all 4 hours of it in one sitting, and now I'm here to talk about it. The plot to this version of the movie is basically the same as the 2017 movie. Superman has died, and with the last Kryptonian dead, the Earth is now vulnerable to Steppenwolf, who arrives on Earth to retrieve these 3 mother boxes. But it's up to Bruce Wayne and Diana Prince to gather up a team of heroes to try to save the world from Steppenwolf. And if you've seen the 2017 version, like I said, the plot is not that different, except that it is 4 hours long. It's more coherent, it's prettier looking than the last movie, and it just makes a lot more sense altogether. So it's no secret that I'm not a fan of Zack Snyder's DCEU movies. I think the franchise itself has gotten a lot better ever since Justice League came out in theaters. I didn't love Aquaman. I don't even think it's that good of a movie, but it's a lot of fun. Shazam is great. Birds of Prey is awesome. And I enjoy Wonder Woman 1984. Not great, and there's a lot in that movie. When rewatching it a second time, I went, yeah, that's not good. But I think the series has started to pick up a lot more since the early days, because I thought Man of Steel was just okay. Batman vs. Superman was awful. Suicide Squad was bad, but nothing really anger-inducing like Batman vs. Superman. Wonder Woman was fantastic, and I like Justice League, but every time I say that, I just die a bit inside because it's an embarrassing mess. The theatrical cut to Justice League is not good. I don't think it's as bad as many people say it is, but it is certainly... I like to refer to it as the Waterworld of comic book movies, where it's an overhyped, over-budget movie that everyone's anticipating, but it ends up being one of the biggest failures of not just that year, but of the entire genre of comic book movies. It is a flat-out embarrassment. And ever since then, those that actually loved what Zack Snyder was doing had this whole campaign of release the Snyder Cut happening, which I just kind of laughed at. I didn't take it seriously at all. It seemed like one of those things that just pop up every 2 months on the internet, and I just didn't like it because, to me, I hate Batman vs. Superman so much. And back then, when this campaign was in full gear, ranging from fans buying billboards to banners being dragged by airplanes in the sky, to me, it was the equivalent of if Transformers fans demanded an alternate cut of Bumblebee, but Michael Bay directed it. Like, why would you want that? So again, I didn't really pay that much attention to this campaign, and every time it would pop up, I'd kind of laugh it off, like, you guys are wasting your time. And then last year, the cut was officially announced. I'm like, well, shit. It doesn't exist because it's not completed yet, so the actual Snyder Cut is not sitting somewhere waiting to be projected. It still has to be finished, but hey, you guys got your wish. It's not going to be a good movie, though. I will still stand by that it's not going to be a good movie at the end of the day. And shit. Like, this whole time, leading up to the release of Zack Snyder's Justice League, it seems like I've been proven wrong on multiple occasions, and I just imagine it's the fandom going, fuck you, Alexander. The Snyder Cut does exist, and it is good. You heard that right, everyone. As someone who's not a fan of Zack Snyder's earlier movies, I think this version of Justice League is not only miles better than the theatrical cut, like it's like night and day, but it's his best movie within the franchise. There are a lot of factors in play to make this Snyder's best movie in the DCEU. I don't think it's a masterpiece per se, and a lot of people that are hyping this up, I think, went into this with that mindset that it is going to be a masterpiece, which, hey, Perfectly fine for them. They can have it, and I'm happy that they consider this movie a masterpiece. I just don't. But anyway, the movie is more coherent, and the 4-hour runtime, even though it's way too long, it definitely helps. And part of the reason why this 4-hour runtime works for this movie, well, there's a couple. One is the fact that because Warner Brothers and Zack Snyder decided to just skip ahead to Justice League to try to catch up with Marvel and the Avengers, you kind of have to have that 4-hour runtime to explain a lot, especially considering that there was no Flash, Cyborg, or Aquaman movie, even though we actually do have an Aquaman movie now, but it's set after Justice League. So you need a lot of time dedicated to exposition, getting characters set up, and especially when it comes to the case of Cyborg, because Ray Fisher in the last Justice League movie, I actually didn't dislike him. I didn't think he was dull, but he certainly didn't have anything to do. And in this version, he actually gets a lot more to do, and his story it's nice. There are some unintentionally funny moments during his backstory, but all in all, when Zack Snyder said that Cyborg was meant to be the heart and soul of Justice League, you believe it. And when you watch this movie play out, you realize, yeah, he was really earnest about that statement, and he proved the naysayers, including me, wrong in that aspect. Another character that actually gets a lot more to do is Steppenwolf. Steppenwolf in the theatrical cut was just so cliched, so generic, and was accompanied by terrible CGI. And in this version, not only does he look drastically different, and despite my complaints about the way he looked in stills, he actually doesn't look that bad. The visual effects work on Steppenwolf is pretty well done. He's more of a menace than in the theatrical cut, and you do feel sorry for him. You get a lot more of his backstory and why he's after these mother boxes, because he's trying to make amends for something he screwed up with in the past involving Darkseid, which, that's not a spoiler. Darkseid is in the trailers and he has his own poster, so if you scream spoilers for Darkseid, then I don't know where you've been. So I thought these two characters were vastly improved overall, and made the movie, again, a million times better than the theatrical cut. One thing that quite surprised me was the amount of humor that was in this movie. I thought that this movie was just going to be 100% serious, straightforward, for 4 hours. Nobody cracks a smile, nobody makes a joke. And I thought most of the humor that was part of Justice League was Joss Whedon's doing. And when I watched this version, I realized, you know what, the funniest parts that I laughed at in the theatrical cut were actually all of Zack Snyder's doing. Because I never laughed at the running gag about brunch in the theatrical cut. I didn't laugh at the "you're the thirstiest woman he's ever met" joke. There's a lot of humor that I can pinpoint in the theatrical cut that just doesn't work. And in this version here, a lot of the jokes that I thought were Joss Whedon's ended up being Zack Snyder. Like, what's your superpower again? I'm rich. And, oh wow, they just took off. Wow. That's rude. So that was a nice surprise and definitely gave the movie a lot more humanity than Zack Snyder's previous movies. I mean, maybe Man of Steel, even though I think that movie's okay, there is some humanity in that movie more than Batman vs. Superman, which was just dour and depressing to watch. Unfortunately, the movie does have some issues, and it's not a perfect movie. I mean, masterpiece is not even in my vocabulary for this movie at all. And one of the big issues that I think people are going to mention is the 4-hour runtime. I mentioned this with The Irishman, but there are few movies out there that deserve to be over 3 hours long. I mean, for as great as The Irishman is, that movie didn't need to be 3.5 hours long. And this Justice League movie here, I get why it's 4 hours long, and the fact that this movie is separated into different chapters definitely helps with the pacing, but because I felt like there were a few unnecessary scenes, or at the very least, scenes that went on for too long, there was really no reason for this movie to be 4 hours long. Like 3.5 hours could have been fine. And I know people don't want to hear this, but one of the things that I really admired about the theatrical cut is that when it came to certain sequences that you could tell were Zack Snyder's, they did a good job at trimming them down to keep the movie flowing. And again, this movie is infinitely better than the theatrical cut, but that version did do a good job at trimming some of the fat from mostly the action scenes. There's a little detail involving the Queen of Themyscira where I go, why are you doing that? That's not present in the theatrical cut, and that version just makes it flow quicker. And also, because it's a Zack Snyder movie, there are some elements that I just don't like of his, even as far back as Watchmen. The slow motion honestly doesn't bother me a whole lot, but I feel like if you took out all the slow motion, this movie would end up being 3 hours long, or maybe 3.5 at the most, because he just utilizes slow motion non-stop. And then also, there are some unintentionally funny scenes. There are several moments where the movie stops to have music videos, and the songs that he picks, much like with Watchmen, are so on the nose that you're surprised that he's not coming out of the TV beating you with a hammer. And the opening credits I thought were so corny that I almost burst into laughter. I can't say what it is, but if you've seen the second trailer to Justice League, you might be able to get a sense of what I'm talking about. And then also, there are several characters in this movie that are meant to be set up for future installments. And because, again, this movie was made at a time when DC and Zack Snyder were trying to catch up with Marvel, these characters are going to lead to nothing. I mean, time will tell if this version of Justice League is a big enough hit that Warner Brothers would want to continue, but I just don't see this series continuing on, and it makes some of the characters that pop up here as setup all the more pointless. I mean, Amber Heard and Willem Dafoe makes sense because we eventually got an Aquaman movie, so those two I get, but the Joker, like, again, it's no secret that Jared Leto's in this movie as the Joker. No purpose whatsoever. The only reason Jared Leto's Joker is in this movie is to finally give us a scene where he's interacting with Ben Affleck's Batman. Iris West also has no reason to be in this movie, although the actress is coming back in the Flash movie, so at least we'll be able to see more of her, since that movie is still going forward with production. But some of these other characters like Deathstroke and Darkseid, I can't say much about Darkseid in this movie because it's going to delve into spoilers, but I had some problems with him. Regardless of those issues, though, this is hands down a vast improvement, and I was honestly shocked that I ended up liking this movie as much as I did. There are some things in this movie that I think are bad, regardless of which version you watch, but unlike with Batman vs. Superman, this longer cut actually helped improve the movie for me. So I'm going to give this the same rating that I gave the theatrical cut to Justice League when I first reviewed it in 2017. Good, but not great. Except I don't feel embarrassed to say that this version of Justice League is good. Again, I can't say it's a masterpiece at all, and in terms of the DCEU movies and where they rank, this is my fourth favorite. Shazam, Birds of Prey, and the first Wonder Woman movie are still the best of the series, but for a movie that I thought was going to be a complete train wreck with no redeeming qualities whatsoever, I was pleasantly surprised, and I'm curious enough to see what happens next. I'm curious enough to see 2 more Justice League movies, since that's what Snyder originally planned, but I'm not holding my breath. If they don't happen, then oh well, at least we got this one. And with the way this movie ends with a cliffhanger, it would be disappointing if we didn't get a follow-up, but I'll just look at it in the same way I look at Gamera 3, where that movie itself had a cliffhanger, but it felt like the nice end to a trilogy. So for those of you who have been on board, they released the Snyder Cut campaign for 4 years. Hey, you win. You got your movie, and it's good. I like it myself, and hopefully you out there love it. If you've loved Batman vs. Superman and Man of Steel, you're gonna love this no matter what. And I'm not saying that in a condescending manner, but if you didn't like those first 2 movies, then I think you might be pleasantly surprised by this one. It's not gonna be a slam dunk, as my friend John Humphrey from The Real Rejects says, but you'll find that this movie has a lot that's improved upon since the past 2 movies and the theatrical cut. And there you go, that's my review for Zack Snyder's Justice League. I do plan on doing a spoiler review for this movie to talk more in depth about the things that I liked and the things that I didn't like. I don't know when that's going to happen. It's probably not going to be up until sometime in April. So I'll keep you guys updated on when I record that spoiler review and when it goes up. But now I want to know what you guys think about Zack Snyder's Justice League. If you've seen it, what did you think? And I want to know, which mindset are you coming from? Are you coming from the mindset of someone who loved Batman vs. Superman and Man of Steel? Or are you coming from the mindset of somebody who didn't like those movies, like me? Whatever the case may be, let me know in the comments below. And until next time, this is the real Mr. Robinson telling you there is only one. Hello everyone, I just wanted to say thank you all for watching my review of Zack Snyder's Justice League. Make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, and follow me on social media, whether that's Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Go check out my Twitch channel and support me on Patreon. I'll see you guys in the next video, but until then, have a good day and take care of yourselves.